Okay, before we get into the review and looking over the Doug pedal, there's a couple other sound samples I've got on different videos. I've had the pedal for a little while, so definitely check those out. I tried different settings. I've used them with different basses and different pickups. One of them is a quick jam that I did. I'll info card that one there. And I also used it with the new Fishman Fluence pickups and the Schecter SLS bass, so I'll tag those at the end of the video at the end card there. So let's get to it. So I'm going to not go over a few things I feel like have been covered in a number of other videos, and some things about, just showing the different sweeps of the EQs and things. It's been pretty covered. There's some great ones put out by Tech21 themselves that will kind of give you an idea that, what each knob does and the overall color range. What I'm going to kind of focus on is some things that I've gotten to know about it from being on the road and having used it live and in the studio that I think maybe other reviews aren't covering. So let's take a look at that stuff. First up is, one, this thing is way more compact than it seems like when you see it online. It really is tiny, which is pretty impressive. One thing that I think kind of tricks you, though, is the size of the knobs kind of give you the indication that you're not going to get that much sweep out of it, or you're not going to get that much tonal variance because of the size of them. That's not true. These are actually really, really sensitive, and small adjustments make a huge amount of difference. So that's one thing that surprised me a lot on this and made it a way more versatile unit, was having that variability more than I thought I initially was. One of the other things is the mid-shift knob. At first, I had it in the pressed position, kind of focusing it on the high mids, and I figured that would be the only one that would ever have any real use for me. It actually turned out to be way more useful than I originally thought. Using it live and having other backlines and things, you are running up against different cabs, different situations that sometimes are going to wildly affect what you're hearing on stage. One time I can say, like, I had a Ampeg 810, and keeping it in that high mid position was perfect because to me they tend to be a little bit dark and I needed it to be a bit more grindy on top. On the other end, I did a show that had a really bright GK Neo cab for the back line, and that thing was clanging right away. And I had a little bit of a panic attack and was like, oh, I got to completely redial my sound. Just hitting that shift button and putting the main set of that gain down into the low mids and being able to add some girth to it, instant. Dialed it right in. It was perfect, brought the balance back to the sound. So don't underestimate it, that just because with whatever gear you try it out on, it may sound a certain way and you think that's the only one it's going to be useful for, you may be surprised how much just going from cab to cab, or just even whatever amp you're plugging it into, it can really help balance those two pieces out and keep the sound in the area that you want it to. The other is the difference in between the out on the 1/4 inch and the XLR. The XLR having the cab sim, kind of, it's basically a pass set of EQs, and the straight out. That had a big effect too, because being able to bypass the sound coming out, or not having to mic a cab and knowing reliably what was coming out of the pedal all the time, I was less reliant on what was coming in off the stage and could kind of compromise on dialing it in here and there. So that made it really versatile too, and a lot easier to just kind of have confidence and know what was going on out front. So very cool, very smart feature on this one. So let's talk a little bit about the intro piece. Why did I call it the torture test? Because pretty much what I wanted to do is see what would happen by taking one setting and driving it through pretty much every possible thing I could come up with that would show where it might not shine or might have a weak spot. We put it in a mix, we put it against heavy guitars. I played low end by itself, did some tapping, so you've got a wide spread and a lot going on. And pretty much when it comes to something that's using a lot of gain or distortion on bass, the big problem is always you can get a great grinding sound on most of them, but then you lose note intelligibility, you lose definition, and a lot of times you just wind up doubling a guitar riff or doing something where it's just going to kind of make a wall of noise, and doing rapid fills, doing tapping, things like that, it falls apart. I think it's pretty obvious and kind of surprising the Doug doesn't do that. When I was going through the part with the heavy guitars, you can hear it grinding right through the center. It's right up front. It's got a lot of meat to it. But as soon as I go into the tapping parts and I'm doing the high-end pieces, it's still clear as a bell. You can hear every part of it. It's got a good, bright, aggressive tone. And I didn't have to change settings. I didn't have to back off the distortion. That's what I think is really the selling point for this pedal. It's just got an incredible amount of definition on both ends. That really being able to cut through the mix with a lot of gain and aggression, it doesn't mean you have to sacrifice intelligibility or note clarity on the high end of the neck or in any fills or anything like that. So that was why I kind of wanted to put it through its paces in a few different conditions, and especially at high tempos to make sure that note clarity was going to keep going. I think it's pretty obvious that it did. So I'll keep it kind of brief on that one. I think the torture test audio clip says everything you need to know. But again, check out that jam. Check out the SLS and the Fishman Fluence pickup demos on there. You'll get a couple other conditions, some different type of tonalities. They were all done with the same pedal. And I got more coming up here shortly. And maybe something new from Tech21. We'll see. Might be coming up. In any case, as always, appreciate you watching. I'll see you on the next one.